Welcome back to the Silver Screen Show. It's been a
It's
while.
been what? It's been what, 6 years? I think it's been 86 years, like that Titanic meme.
It's been 84 years. And I still remember the last episode. Yeah. So we have decided to transfer over to Zoom because it doesn't look like we're going to be meeting up in person again anytime soon.
And the plan was to watch Wonder Woman because that'd be the first cinematic release like here since God knows when, but that kind of bombed. So
Start with Mulan. So obviously things have had not done they haven't done well with cinematic releases, and so we're getting a lot of stuff streamed now instead, and we have streamed Mulan
for free. I wasn't paying 30 quid.
No, I was not paying for premiere access for that.
I'll wait till December. It's worth the risk.
Not after those initial reviews came out. So for anyone living under a rock doesn't know what Mulan is, this one in particular is the next installment in the long line of Disney live action remakes of the 96, I believe, Mulan animated movie. So
I'm not an expert, I don't know.
I love Disney. Live action is making me lose faith. But it is a young Chinese maiden disguises herself as a male warrior in order to save her father. And it has not been as well received as the original animated series. And I think it's because they tried to pander a little bit too much. And I think they strayed too far in this case. There's a problem with the live action remakes in that either they're too close to the original, like Beauty and the Beast was like frame.
Or Lion King.
or Lion King, where it's like frame for frame.
Literally, yeah.
And then the stuff that they add in to draw out the movie just feels like it's just been dropped in there with no thought whatsoever. Or you get so far away from it that people are like, oh, it's nothing like the original. And I feel like this one falls into the latter part of it because they've changed Mulan as a character. They've made her Ray Mulan. So what were your thoughts on it, Abu?
My thoughts, I have only one note on my screen which says this cost $200 million to make. So great return of investment from Disney's side there. But overall, I just think this film was lacking so much, considering the original, which is like so entertaining and it has a great message, which was even if you're a woman in a man's world, through perseverance, hard work, and a bit of trickery, you can ascend to the ranks of, what's the guy's name? The Sergeant Shen? Yeah, exactly. But in this one, she's just like, she's just got power. She's got chi, which didn't exist in the original. So there's just a whole new thing they've added in.
Or the Force,
Yeah, basically it is. I mean, what's sad is they saw what they did with Rey Skywalker and people just didn't like it, but they just copied and pasted the exact same thing to Mulan. So it's a bit...
In the original, there's been quite a few movies.
Yeah.
So there has been another live action one which is supposed to be brutal, which I really want to see. But like the animated one was light and funny enough because you had Eddie Murphy as the dragon, you had the cricket, you had a bit of like comic relief in that sense, but you had this character that had to go through hardship and she had no idea what she was getting herself into. She was smart and they kind of hinted at the fact that she was smart and she had like ingenuity and resourcefulness, but then that kind of developed throughout the film and she used that to her advantage. She didn't have strength over the men, she had brains, and it was like
she didn't have the force. That's what she was lacking.
This Mulan just starts off a badass, is a badass in the middle and a badass at the end, and she doesn't really do anything to change or adapt or evolve. It's just like, oh, something's hard, we'll just do it.
Yeah, just stop being weak.
Stop being weak. Just pick up that water and just run with it.
I think I've seen many other videos on this film, and I think the main point was there's not enough struggle for her. There's really nothing. She's just like, whenever there is some struggle, something happens and the struggle's gone.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where she's having a bath in a lake, and one of the dudes come along, and you think, okay, what's gonna happen here? maybe she's gonna, have to do some cunning to kind of get out of it. She just tells him to piss off, and he goes, "Okay, I will piss off," and he just goes away.
Yeah,
And the next morning they're fine again. I'm like, well, you were pretty brutal to think that for no reason.
yeah,
He's a bit of an ass in this film because she's got, and I don't know why they do this. And also, I suppose the other thing is they wanted to remove the fantasy element, which is fair enough, like Mushu and stuff. That wouldn't work. But what they did, they replaced it with a witch and a phoenix and magic. It's like you use this as an excuse to remove the thing people like, then added elements people didn't really want. Like, the witch is totally useless. Like, what is she here for? She's literally just there to point Mulan to the next destination.
Lots of us. She's there to explain chi and explain why women are kind of pushed aside in that society. But then, I watched another person's review of it as well, and they were talking about how in their childhood in China, Mulan, the legend, is a massive thing for kids because it does kind of teach you that, through hard work and perseverance and, using your brain and everything, you can elevate yourself. But then when she goes home and she talks to her sister, and her sister's like, "Oh,
I got married.
I'm getting married." And it's like, okay, so in order to elevate your position and get anywhere else in life other than marriage, you have to have this special chi power, which is a whole weird thing in itself, because it's like you hear about, in martial arts you learn about chi and everybody has it, and you can there are films where they use
you can harness your inner powers and stuff.
It doesn't give you like Jedi level power.
You mean you can't backflip off a riding horse and somersault and kick a spear back into someone else? with your hair flowing back and forth.
Oh yeah. The whole taking her hair out of the ponytail as well was just a bit.
Taking off her armor. I don't need armor. I've got the force. But
I have the force.
I think overall it's just such
it's
disappointment to what they could have done.
In terms of a martial arts movie, it's stunning. But in terms of actual substance and character development, it is lacking for me.
Yeah, it's good to look at, but I don't think that's enough, especially for a film that,
because the cast looked great as well. You had some big, pretty
you got Donnie Yen, Jet Li, Jason Scott Lee, I think his name is.
Yeah, Jason Scott Lee was in it.
It's absolutely stacked, but there's only so much a characters can do. The screenwriters are making it garbage.
Yeah, if they're given a garbage script, then they can't really do that much about it.
Yeah, I think mainly they just felt the character Mulan. She's just stoic. Mulan isn't supposed to be a stoic badass. That's not. You can't resonate with her. She's just naturally talented.
Yeah, I didn't really get the injection of the phoenix metaphor either.
Apparently that phoenix metaphor doesn't really exist in China, from what I've heard. That's not what the phoenix represents. It's more of a Western thing. So that kind of annoyed them, as we don't see the phoenix as this. Don't hold me on that. That's what I read somewhere on Twitter. So, but apparently,
references.
But apparently the phoenix is weird. It's just, I understand changing the story to not make it a shot for shot thing, but there's just ways you could do it to not really just ruin the entire concept. At least make Mulan struggle a bit. They even took this by mentioning "Be a Man," and you thought, they might go into the song, but they don't. I'm like,
no, they don't even touch the music. They do. They've sampled a bit of Reflection.
Yeah, but
music, and that for me the music didn't really make sense either, because it's Chinese music but westernized, and it was a really confusing mix of tone in the score as well. And it's well, if you want to make a live action movie that is within the genre of kind of Chinese fantasy, then you don't go with the director of the Zookeeper's Wife. So it's Nicky Caro, who directed North Country, Whale Rider, Zookeeper's Wife. I'm maybe what you should do is go with
Asian character.
or at least
the cast were full of Asians, but apparently none of the script writing or the screenwriting team had any Asian influence. So obviously you don't want to say just hire a person just for the sake of their background, but if you're going to make a film specifically aimed at China and representing Chinese heritage and culture. You probably at least want someone consultant on the board, right, who's aware of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who has experience writing that kind of genre or directing.
I mean, to be honest, even if the film bombed outside of China, as long as if it was a success in China, they would more than made up the money. It's just a fact. So they can ignore the rest of the world, to be honest, but they messed up the Chinese market, and that alone made it. And also the £30 is just ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking.
If you're just going to come out and say that you're going to release it for free in 3 months, don't say that.
Exactly. Well, at least $10 or £10 or something is just...
Because I had this discussion the other day. We were saying that, once you remove all of the overheads of the cinema, it's not going to cost you $30 or $30 or £20 to see a film. Because
it's already got Disney Plus.
You're already paying for Disney Plus. You own Disney. You are Disney. You are the machine. So you don't have to pay all of the overheads, and you don't have to set up a contract like Warner Media are doing. You don't have to set all of that up. You own the platform. So why are you $30 for a freaking movie? So.
And one more thing before we end this up, I just have to mention the editing for the fight scenes, because you can clearly see the actress who played Mulan was not doing any of her stunts, and it reminded me of Taken 3. When she's jumping on the rooftops, it's just cut. I'm like, could you just not at least train her to do jumps and stuff? Okay, maybe combat animals, even like most basic stuff, like the wire work. It just took me out. I'm like, why there's so many cuts? Like, surely you'd invest in someone who's at least has. I'm pretty sure some Asian actresses out there can do a bit of handy stunt work.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed like they did not want to make her do anything physical or remotely physical, apart from just backflipping of horses, because that's.
And that's counterproductive as well, because so many films are getting like so much praise for doing like Steadicam work and reducing the number of cuts, like 1917 and Atomic Blonde and like those kind of films where and John Wick, like all of the action is a single shot. The actors are training up to do a lot of their own stunts, and they're being lauded for it. So why go back to like shaky camera?
Definitely. If they went for that all in onto that, at least that was giving the film something, like, some sort of hero flying daggers kind of epicness to it. Whereas these fight scenes just felt so choreographed. They just wanted to be dressed in bright red in the battlefield. I'm like, yo, they're gonna stab you, man. They're standing out. And doesn't your hair get in your eyes? Like you kept on pushing your head. Now, surely your hair would get in your face.
Well, yeah.
At least tie it up.
Just sitting here, my hair would be like.
Yeah.
I have to pull it back. Let alone ride a horse.
Really at least put in a ponytail or something. Don't just let it. It's not L'Oreal. It's not a Pantene advert. Okay.
What's your score?
This is a great review for the first thing back in like months, but I would say just because it's just good to at least watch like decent visually. I mean, that's the only thing I had for it. Apart from that, I'll probably give it a 2. I mean, it's not utterly tragic, but it's just, when you think about the original, then you watch this, then you just really great. If I just watched this like out of the blue, like a random film, I wouldn't mind. When you compare it, what it could have been, it's just like the production values there, the action scenes are pretty well done. Obviously, it's not as great as it could have been, but I think it's a 2. I think that's more of my anger.
Yeah.
Overall.
I agree as well. I think it's a 2 out of 5 because, like you say, if you'd have gone into it not knowing the story, not knowing the legend, not knowing the animated one, you can enjoy it for what it is. It's like a spectacle sort of thing. But knowing the background and love, like the original Mulan was one of my favorite Disney movies because it was so like it was
so powerful.
It was, and it was like for young girls, you can look up to a character like that and be like, I can find my strength, whatever that may be, and use it to my advantage and propel. But like, it kind of gives the message: unless you're special from birth, you're screwed.
You're screwed. Yeah. Just know your role, peasant.
No, you're on your own. All right, well, yeah, that's a good one for our first episode back. So
for our second one will be even more for rad. So we'll wait for that. Bye.